This is our ancestors once again had a greater vision than what we've been conditioned to accept, and they looked at large expanses of time, and they looked at cycles of time, because nature works in cycles, and our bodies work in cycles. Some of them we're very aware of, cycles of night and day, a woman's menstrual cycle every 28 days tuned to the moon, our sleep cycles, and some we're less aware of, and some cover huge expanses of time that so long that no one in a single lifetime remembers those things. Climate is among those things. So I want to be really clear. We definitely, I believe, in my opinion, we definitely have the opportunity to stop burning fossil fuels, to find clean, green, sustainable ways of living. When it comes to these cycles of time, we are reluctant sometimes to see them. So our ancestors, when they saw the changes, it was less about healing the earth because they didn't see the earth as broken. It was about them allowing themselves to move in harmony with the new cycles that were appearing. So what that means is that we're living a time of volatility, the convergence of three cycles in our lifetimes: climate, the economic cycles, and cycles of conflict that are all governed by natural rhythms. They are all converging in this little window of time, and that is contributing to the volatility of what's happening in our lives and our world. The problem is we've been conditioned to think of ourselves as separate from the world, and we're trying to solve our problems through separation and competition and conflict, when the best science and our ancestors told us very, very clearly, science is telling us today, that the fundamental rule of nature is cooperation, not competition, and that we are deeply connected to the world and ourselves, not separate as we've been led to believe. And as we shift this thinking from separation to connection, from competition to cooperation, that opens the door to new opportunities of solving the problems. The answers are there. The key is for us to find the way to shift our thinking, to make it a priority in our lives, to help one another, and to begin thinking in terms of cooperation rather than competition. And that's huge.
I mean, what an amazing time in history. I mean, we negotiated, all of us, to be here. We negotiated this, and we can't go any longer from the same level of consciousness. And you're going to see many paradigms beginning to collapse because they can't sustain themselves in this new era, and we can't react in fear because it's the very consciousness that created some of these things. We can't react in anger and frustration. It's the same consciousness. It's the same frequency. It's the same energy. We have to move above that to a greater consciousness, and that's how we unify. And look, I mean, we are wired to serve. We are wired to inform. We are wired to support, to encourage, to inspire. We are wired to heal one another. We are wired to show each other what's possible. This is when a collective species, a living organism, all of a sudden starts to unify and does something greater. And we got to just go to a greater consciousness. And as above, so below, as within, so without. And this is what's in front of us. And I don't care whatever the causation, where it came from, I don't care any of that stuff. What I care about is what we're going to do about it. And there's no real other alternative for people when you start realizing that you can control your emotions, you can control your physiology, that you're the creator, you can think outside the box. You should become inspired by what's in front of you and say, okay, I'm willing to go to a greater consciousness, and I will see solutions to the present circumstances from a greater level of mind. I woke up the other day and I said, okay, what do I believe in? I asked myself, well, what do you really believe in? So then if you believe that you create your life, and this is in front of you, okay, well, this is what we all negotiated and what we created. And the other thing I started thinking about is, my goodness, if I truly believe that I'm eternal, and I understand it intellectually, if I truly believe that I'm eternal, then I'm going to go all in. I'm not going to be victimized by this. I know we're faced with challenges every day with the way we have to reorganize events and all the things that are changing. But I'm just going to keep staying in that creative state. And if I'm eternal, then I'm going to go all in. If I believe that to be the truth, and I'm going to say, wow, what a great What a great experience. Wow, what a great ride that was. If everybody thought that, and we started to be empowered by that thought, we'd be less fearful. We would be less controlled. We would be more, we fell from singularity. We fell from source, pure love, down into density, fooled into the illusion of separation, which is totally cool. We became when we were one, the other question is, can we be many and be so separate from singularity, from source, that we have our own individuality, our own free will, disconnected from the all, from the one, to experience this gift called life? Well, now more than ever, if we're wanting to apply the principles, we are going to have to unify to that field. And the quantum physics says that everything that's physical and material is connected by this unifying energy. And people don't think that they have access to it. Well, if all of your attention is on the material world and you're focusing on matter, reality is both particle and wave, matter and energy. If you're unaware of the quantum field, you could intellectually understand it, but if you're unaware of it, it doesn't exist for you. And you could have all the dinner conversations in the world, but someone says, I want to put my attention on it. I want to stay present with it. I want to experience it. I want to surrender to it. I want to become more of it and less of me. I want to lose my individuality, my separateness as a consciousness, and keep practicing, connecting with it. I tell you, you keep practicing that, you're going to run into it. And when you do, there's going to be an arousal. We've seen this. I guarantee you that you will stop looking in your outer world for that feeling that you've been looking for your whole entire life when you realize it's coming from within you. And you'll start believing that there's some invisible intelligence that you are an extension of. And people, when they have their first taste of this, it is the most familiar, unfamiliar feeling that they've ever had. And they get insights, they get downloads, they have new ideas, they see possibilities, they have mystical moments that cause them to never be the same. Now, give a person one or two of those, and it transcends religion, it transcends culture, it transcends tradition, it transcends medicine, it transcends psychotherapy. In fact, we have many physicians and psychotherapists have that moment and say, I never knew it could be this good. Well, what happened? You applied a formula to prove to yourself that you are connected. Now, that collective consciousness that does this properly will emerge unified in love, and they will not be able to deceive one another, to lie to one another, to manipulate one another. You can't do it in that state. Hold a grudge. They will forgive, and they will be creators and creating from a greater level of consciousness. And it doesn't matter. I can tell you, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are, how sick you are, how healthy you are, what you eat, the color of your skin, how much money you make, where you were born. I've seen it on all shapes, sizes, colors. Nobody is so special to be excluded from the phenomenon. So, hey, we're here. Whatever the causation, whatever the circumstance, this is a time to unify as a collective. And social distancing and all that stuff, sure, that's all important, but we don't need to see one another to connect. We can connect when we open our hearts and we know how to apply brain and heart coherence. And wow, now you're empowered. And the practice of doing this is no different than anything you practice. You keep doing it, you're just going to get better at it. And that's what I want people to do, is step out in their life in a greater level of consciousness and stop believing that they're limited. Stop unconsciously thinking something out there is going to get them. Whoa, that's a lot of that's a lot of limitation. And it doesn't say to not be careful. I'm just saying that I wouldn't give my power away to that. I wouldn't give it away. And if I'm eternal, well, this is a time to actually try it out, to demonstrate it, to see if it's true.